This is 1077 KNYO LP Fort Bragg, streaming on the web at knyo.org. Also, if you go to the Fort Bragg Wellness page, I have posted a live stream link so you can look at our side shots here off of a webcam. I'm live streaming the debate. No, it's not a debate. It's just a casual chat. KNYO time is 4:59, and I think it's time to do this. I laugh every time I hear this. It reminds me of old news in TV. I'm Dan Rather. No, you know. Anyway, Fort Bragg, USA. Every once in a while we get together to talk about hot topics. And this evening I have a guest, Bruce Broderick. And Bruce is in the studio. Are you there? You want to test your microphone, Bruce?
Hey, Joe.
Hey,
thanks for having me.
I hear you just fine. I'm not listing any underwriters for this hour, but please check out the KNYO page, knyo.org. There's a listen live link there. And how are you doing, Bruce?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Good.
Yeah,
Well,
it was cleanup day here out at the hall today, so we got things a lot more ready for Sunday breakfast.
more ready.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's other events happening, too. There's going to be a Gwyneth Moreland concert coming up, right?
That's coming up, yeah.
I
think
forget
that's
the date. Is that the 20th?
20th, I believe, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm definitely going to attend that.
Then we've got a barn dance scheduled for June as well. Not sure the exact date yet, but it's coming up.
You're going to convert the hall to a barn.
No, just barn music.
Okay. You're going to throw some hay bales in for authenticity?
Maybe so.
Okay.
Yeah, if we can keep them dry around here.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Fog brag today.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. Well, thanks for coming out to the studio here in Cleone, my personal spot here where I've had some other people for debates. And I asked you to come because there's a lot of controversial stuff and little mudslinging in our community.
There is.
And I want to ask about what we've formerly known as the Grange that's now a guild hall. And what's like the mission of the guild or the mission of the Grange? Is there besides like agriculture, is there a general mission statement that comes from this group?
Well, as we are right now, it's been difficult over the last 3-4 years to actually define a mission because all of these lawsuits have been slinging around from the national, state level,
Sure.
and it's been hard to focus beyond the doing our breakfast, taking care of the scholarships that we do, and here recently we haven't even been doing the ice cream donations to the senior center, but we're going to pick up on that again. But
What kind of scholarships?
It was partial college scholarships for students who did well at the high school.
Okay.
And we've also done some through the to students at the Noyo Food Forest. And
Cool.
we'd like to continue that. Yeah.
That reminds me, I owe them $100.
Who's that?
The Noyo Food Forest.
Oh, okay.
Well, because for a booth at the Earth Day Festival, it's $100, and I had an underwriter that was for $200, and I was going to split $100 for KNYO for the underwriting and $100 for the food. So I got to hit him up. Got to get a check.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're wondering how come the KNYO booth was there, but they never got our fee. And I want to make for sure we're on on the poster and can do this next year and keep our checks and balances.
Yeah, they're great folks out there.
Yeah. So you mentioned lawsuits between national and state. So what's the difference between the national and state Grange? I guess before we even get on to guild, we should figure that out.
Yeah, it's it can be all confusing because there's a lot of different layers to this whole thing. The National Grange, founded in 1863, I believe.
Wow.
And incorporated. Actually, it's been incorporated since the 30s, 40s, I believe. I don't have a whole lot of actual dates stuck in my mind. I do a lot of research, but actual sticking dates in my head sometimes is a little amiss. But they've been around a long time. California State Grange has been around since the 1870s as well. That's the Grange that is now called the Guild. And
So the California Grange was always there. It's
Yes.
not like it just popped up in the middle of National and or did they or were
well,
they
there's
one
two.
Grange?
There's two now.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the old California State Grange that is now called the Guild because of
Okay.
a trademark lawsuit. And there's the new California State Grange that was established in 2014 that the National Grange chartered after it revoked the charter of the old California State Grange in 2013.
So the original old Grange, which is now the Guild,
Yes,
the National, I guess, tried to charter that.
they revoked their
They
charter.
revoked the charter.
Yeah.
So then it was like California State Grange 2.0.
Yes, there you go.
Okay. And that's the one that is chartered then by the National
Yeah,
Grange.
and trying to assimilate all of the local Granges.
Are you guys out there confused yet? You see, I just learned something there is I'm still trying to identify the difference between the state and the Guild, but technically the Guild is the old state.
Yes, it is. And
Okay.
we've always been affiliated with them.
Mhm.
We've never left.
Interesting. So what is a charter? Is that an interesting question, or is that just kind of...
Well, here's a charter. I have, and back in, where are we? And this is in our, I'll just read this. This was in 1938. And the National issued our charter via the old California State Grange, now the Guild. Okay?
Okay.
National Grange do issue this charter to Fort Bragg Grange number 672 and hereby recognize it as a regularly constituted Grange under the jurisdiction of the National Grange and of the State Grange of California, provided that the officers and members of the Grange and their successors shall at all times comply with the Constitution of the National Grange and of the State Grange before mentioned, and all laws, rules, and regulations passed in accordance therewith. Otherwise, this charter shall be forfeited, and the rights and privileges hereby conveyed be void and of no effect.
Okay. I'm typically repelled by paperwork, so I'm like, okay.
So what it's saying basically on the original charter is that if we don't follow their rules,
Yeah.
no harm, no foul, goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then that's where the old California State Grange lies. It was the goodbye.
No,
Does
we
that
did.
make sense? Oh, okay.
National did that with the state, yes.
Okay.
But we were corporately tied to the state.
Okay. So, and the Grange is considered a 501c8.
Yes.
Which is, I didn't even realize those went up to 8. I know
They
I
go
thought
up to
were-
10.
Okay.
Yeah.
I better look them up at some point. I know that KNYO is a 3,
Uh-huh.
which there's a lot of 3s around.
Yeah.
What is an 8? I hear it's like self-serving. Does that...
It's a membership organization.
Okay.
But it's also, you have to supply some type of, in our case, it's been insurance, some type of benefits. It's a mutual benefit.
Kind of like getting cheaper propane, I keep
Kind of
hearing.
like getting cheaper propane, but also we have accidental death and dismemberment. We have good rates on the helicopter that gets us out of here if there's an emergency, things like that.
What kind of rates are those? I don't know if you know what that is.
I think it's like $50 a year or something.
Okay, for a free ride, instead of them billing you after you're already at Santa Rosa Memorial for like $16,000
There
or
you
something
go,
crazy.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So $55 a year is a good deal.
That actually, whether you never use it or not, that seems more reasonable than full coverage insurance on my GMC out front.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, because that's almost $1,200. That's basically $100 a month.
I know.
And I haven't had any dings put in it that somebody else didn't stick in it for me, but they're not worth the insurance. That's for sure.
Well, on that note of a 501c8,
Sure.
we have to have an umbrella corporation, okay, a parent, all right?
Oh, okay.
So when the National revoked the state, the National was not certified to do business in this state, so we had to legally stay with the old California State Grange Guild.
Or you could lose your charter.
We would lose our 501 status
Okay.
and not be a nonprofit anymore. We would then turn into a for-profit enterprise.
Is the Lions and Rotary, are those also considered like a 501c8 or are those private?
I'm not sure of what their designations are. They might be a 501c10. Some choose 501c5, which, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now we've talked about national, old state, new state, and we've clarified the old California State Grange is what is currently the Guild.
Yes.
That's established. How does the McFarland Group come into this? Like McFarland Group versus, my question was actually formulated McFarland Group versus California State versus Guild, but now we've clarified the Guild factor. So
McFarland Group is just another name for the Guild.
Okay. And who is McFarland?
Bob McFarland is the president of the old California State Grange that was elected in 2009. Okay? He wasn't part of the Grange hierarchy. He was an outsider that wanted to change the quote-unquote what was called by many corrupt practices of the California State Grange. And so he had an 80% vote of the delegates at the convention. 80% of the vote went to him, and he became the first real outsider to become president of the California State Grange.
Now, backing up, you said about a couple lines back something about, was it like misappropriation of funds or...
Well, the research I've done, and I like to know why on everything. What, where.
That's why I have you here, is I'm getting a little learned on issues here.
The whys on things. It's like this whole lawsuit thing that's come down from the National Grange is pretty insane. If you look at it just on the surface, why would the National Grange want to revoke the charter of its California State Grange when the problem could have been resolved in a couple of afternoons of mediation? Why would they want to do that? Because it's expensive. It just disrupts everything. And there's been a lot of theories on that, like it was a pissing match between a couple of egos, all kinds of other things. But I wanted to look back farther and farther and farther.
Sure.
And see where it was. I do know that because I've looked at some of the books, the old books at the California State Grange, and there does seem to be some discrepancies in the books as to how money was appropriated from what's called the asset management account.
Okay.
And the asset management account, you've got to get a little history on that, too.
It's on a state level.
It's on a state level. And what that is funds go there from granges that are sold and consolidated with another grange. Okay. But the funds from the sale go into this asset management account for the benefit, quote unquote, of the grange that it was consolidated to. Okay. So, like in Mendocino County, as an example, in 2002, Ukiah Grange was sold. All right. And I think it was for something like $247,000.
You're talking physical property.
Physical property. And the membership was consolidated into Redwood Valley Grange. Okay. So that $247,000 then, it might have been $295,000, I'm not sure of the numbers, but it's right in there, was transferred to the asset management account, which is a trust account for these granges, in Sacramento through California State Grange. So that fund, and those funds aren't, I said $247,000. At that time, there was around $4 million in there. Okay, from a variety of different granges.
That in the state account.
In the state asset management account.
But in managing it, they would manage that 200 and something thousand towards the Redwood Valley.
Theoretically, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Because of the way the granges absorbed each other.
Yeah. So, and those monies are supposed to be if it's not a consolidation, if it's a Grange that just disbands and doesn't consolidate,
Sure.
they're supposed to keep those funds in that account for 7 years before they do anything with it.
Okay.
But the asset management account was just like this big fish bowl where all the money went. Okay. So it wasn't kept track of very well, at least from an outsider's view.
Who manages that fund?
The state master and executive committee,
Okay.
the officers.
All right. How many
Okay.
officers?
There's a total of about six
Okay.
to nine right in there. Yeah. So you've got your there's so with that though, and I don't want to get too far off track. The asset management account, from what I've seen, and where a lot of this started was it goes back to 2009 with the Vista Grange.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the Vista Grange, and I talked, was their real estate was dilapidated, and they wanted to market it and sell it and make sure that the assets went into their community and not into the asset management account where they were worried that those funds would be mismanaged.
Okay.
Okay? So they went through a series of legal corporate events to make sure this happened. And California State Grange at the time, and this is pre-2009 when Bob McFarland came in, they filed a lawsuit against the Vista Grange and went after them, revoked their charter, did all of this other stuff. But the Vista Grange legally did transfers, corporate transfers and stuff, and made sure the property could be sold and the assets then go to the community, which the sale happened several years later.
Sidetracking the state account.
Yeah, and they did it legally. But at the 2000, what happened is that the old master from the California State Grange during this lawsuit got ousted or voted out, and Bob McFarland came in. So he wanted to settle the deal and make sure that and they did what was called the Vista Agreement, and I have it here.
Okay.
And the California State Grange and Vista came to agreement that they could sell that property. Okay, and so it's a legal precedent that's set that was also in San Diego County, the Superior Court there, where all of these guidelines were followed, and it's actually the first proof in California that local Granges do own their own property. That's what's so important about the Vista.
That's that's a major clarification.
It is a major clarification. So with that, National, I think, a little as time went on, discovered that they made a big mistake because by allowing this to occur, they set a precedent.
Okay.
So they started chipping away at Bob McFarland and finding anything that they could wrong. So by the time 2011 came around, where he was due to be reelected or someone else elected in his place, there was another convention, and they were keeping people out of the convention to make sure that Bob McFarland wouldn't get elected, and he was elected anyway. So there was enough of a majority. So they couldn't stack the vote against him. By the time 2012 came around, they had drummed up some phony charges, which they still won't say what they are, even after 4 years of lawsuits.
Well, that doesn't seem like legitimate charges.
I know, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So as time goes on, then in 2013, they revoke the California State Charter, okay?
Okay.
And then they sue all of the executive committee and Bob McFarland, and they start this huge lawsuit, and it's got like 1,100 motions in it.
And that's the lawsuit that we don't know what it is?
we still don't know what charges there were. But the reason for the lawsuit is because Bob McFarland, via the executive committee, refused to leave. Okay? And because we had a convention, all of the subordinate Granges at the time, and we unanimously voted to keep Bob McFarland and to keep on the same path. So it wasn't just the California State Grange that did it, as the new State Grange is saying. It was the California State Grange, and all of the subordinates said, no, we are not going to stand for this because there's something fishy going on.
So how does the word land grab, does that ring a bell?
Of course it rings a bell.
Okay.
So if you're back prior to 2009, the average closing and consolidation of a Grange property was about one every 6 months.
Really?
Okay.
I mean, are they shrinking?
Yeah,
The
their
Grange
membership was
era is just kind of
it was shrinking,
throttling down. Okay.
Throttling down. But if you look at property values,
Yeah.
so Grange
from
is
2009.
no, this is actually prior to 2009. But when Bob McFarland came in, that stopped. Okay, there was one or two or three maybe, but the membership increased by 40% in 2 years.
From 09 to 2011. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
How many more memberships is 40%?
That would be from there was.
I mean, is that like 80,000 more people signed? Or
well,
like
in 2011 there was 9,000 members. So
Okay.
do the math from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to open up calculator on my Windows. No.
Yeah, somewhere around 3,500.
That sounds, I was going to say 3. But
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So that's significant.
Yeah.
That is. And so, but it was contrary to the path that National and the old state were on. Because all of us, were more progressive.
Okay.
We were a progressive membership. We were doing anti-GMO stuff.
Go figure. No, I mean, isn't this, aren't GMOs banned in Mendocino County?
Yes.
In Humboldt also, or?
I don't know if Humboldt's got it.
I know
yet.
Mendocino.
Yeah.
And when this whole thing started and the GMO issue came up, I thought, how could you, like the charter of the Grange, however this works, how could you be aligned with, let's just say, National or if it's California State, if they're a GMO lobby, when in this county, we're supposed to be a GMO-free county.
Yeah, and therein lies the rub, because in 2012, the first part, when Proposition 37 came out,
Okay.
it came from...
That's the banning GMO.
Yeah, the GMO labeling throughout California.
Labeling. Okay.
Okay, and that came from the Chico Grange at the time, now Chico Guild. That was Pam Larry. Okay, so that whole movement that Monsanto and others put a lot of money into fight, that didn't pass in California, but inspired a lot of other states to pass their own laws,
Sure.
like it happened in Vermont, I believe. And so other states, this happened, but even though we didn't get the GMO labeling through here, it was lobbied through the Grange at the time under Bob McFarland's tenure to get this GMO labeling thing. And at that time, right at that time, was when the suspension and the revocation happened. So, yes, the GMO stuff is part of it, but it's not ground zero. It's not the root cause.
That's what I found, because in the beginning I thought, it's because, GMOs.
Yeah.
And then I realized the more I was reading, for instance, the coalition page that you forwarded me, I was finding this has hardly anything to do with GMOs.
Yeah.
As far as like land grabs and stuff like that. I mean, who's in the Grange doesn't really make a difference of what's on the shelf at Safeway.
No.
Really.
No.
Fascinating. So as far as, let's move on ahead. So the current events and activities, I wrote down 3 Bs: chronology of events, including bank issues, break-in issues, and babysitting, which is babysitting because somebody's staying at the Grange every night, right?
Yeah, well, we're
Or are
okay.
you-
We're okay now. We have
Okay.
we have a pretty high tech alarm system in, and
Yeah.
not only will it notify anybody within a half hour or a half mile radius of the building.
Audible, like
audible.
loud. Oh,
Yeah, it will also call the sheriff. So
if you ever test that, I'd love to sit outside on a still night and just see if I can hear it down here.
yeah,
I mean, we're a few miles down the road.
yeah, and then of course we've been getting a lot of Inglenook residents involved too. So
Yeah,
it's kind of a good neighborhood watch going on now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, so nobody's staying, but for a while you were staying
3
there
weeks
for
straight.
3 weeks straight,
Yes.
staying, rotating shifts, I guess,
Yes.
kind of between a few. How many members were rotating shifts?
There was about 12 of us.
Okay.
Yeah, that would rotate. So actually more like 14, because and there was never a time when there wasn't someone there, and most of the times too. And it was actually kind of nice because we would all, some of us would hang out and discuss issues and stuff there while it was
Sure.
going on. Yeah, sometimes it went on so much that it was hard to get a good night's sleep.
Did you ever walk around the Grange going, "What is that noise?" Like in the middle of the night?
The first few nights.
I mean, there's no like water radiator circulation systems that creak and expand and contract, but
No.
I know old buildings sometimes make noises.
Yeah. Well, I'm real familiar with the noises in there anyway,
Yeah.
because I've been involved with the building committee
Sure.
and all of that with it. So
Are all the refrigerators in the kitchen zone, are those new or are those were already there, but you guys built a new coffee section kind of?
the refrigerators,
Those have been there for a while or?
actually about 4 years now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it used to have some old clunker residential fridges.
Yeah.
yeah. But after we rebuilt the coffee room and then rebuilt the fridge room, one of them was gotten with a grant, and then we funded
cool.
the other one.
Pretty interesting because I've only been to living here for like 15 years down the road. I've only been to a few breakfasts, or rummage sales or things, over the course of all these years. And I started going to these Grange parties, the potluck musical that Lee Ryder was arranging.
They're great.
A lot of
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
And I realized, wow, these are really good looking commercial refrigerators, not crappy, rusty pieces of junk. I thought those look pretty new.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
Yeah. So we needed to have some.
Yeah.
Because it was all and there again over the last 3 years while this whole thing has been going on, it's kind of curbed our drive to upgrade the real estate and
In
make
case
sure
if you're going to just give it away.
Yeah, because we didn't know how it was going to pan out.
Yeah.
So, but we're kind of back on path now.
Yeah.
So,
And also the size of commercial refrigerators reflects that you can consolidate the bulk purchases for very large breakfasts.
Yes.
Where you serve, a few hundred people or something?
the record's 700.
Wow.
And this last year, I think there was one day of about 425.
Wow. But
Yeah.
that means that people need to eat and then get out in
They
order to
do,
make
yeah.
space, because I know
Yeah.
the hall capacity isn't anywhere near that.
No, we're at about, just on the dining room side,
Yeah.
it's about 95. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm sure are over the limit sometimes.
Yeah. We cut it close.
Interesting. So, should I ask who is Ed, or should I ask about the break-in? Which direction would you like? I mean, I'd like to
I'll
know
go-
about that.
I'll go either direction you want.
Well, okay. There was a break-in.
Yes.
We'll start with that. There was a break-in, and then there was break-in 2.0, which was
Taking it back.
Taking it back.
Yeah.
How did that come about, and who was I mean, I don't know. There might be legal issues here with names, but
No, it's okay. Because most of it's resolved.
sure.
It if we look at the forced entry,
Sure.
on that side of it, that happened at 11 in the morning, about on March 27th this year.
Okay.
And Jim Chaddock was delivering groceries.
So we're about 5 weeks from that.
Yeah.
That's
we
how
are.
long we've come through these steps.
Yes,
I guess.
yes,
Okay.
that's about it. And Jim Chaddock happened to be a day early delivering the groceries that he picks up from Cisco in town, because they won't deliver out there.
Yeah.
And he noticed a white truck out front that was parked parallel with the road.
A utility truck or a regular truck?
Well, we're still not going to go there.
Oh, right.
I know.
Right.
Okay. I don't want to.
Sure.
Yeah. That's something I just can't quite talk about yet.
That's fine.
Yeah. But with that, he unlocked all 3 locks on the front, and the door still wouldn't open. And what he noticed was that there was a camera off to the left under the eave, and a sign on the right, 2 signs, one saying there's video surveillance, and then a sign below that with a number to call Don Peeler.
Oh.
Okay. If you need assistance, so he had all of these perishable groceries, so he called the number and said, I need to get in. I have perishable groceries.
Yeah.
And so actually Mr. Peeler was on the inside, so he unlocked the door from the inside. And there was him and 2 associates on the inside. And Jim said, I've got to get these groceries in. And so they actually helped him get the groceries to the refrigerators. So, and that's the ham and the eggs and all the other stuff we use for the breakfasts. So at that point, they were looking at him sideways, asked him how to cook the potatoes, what was the best way to do it, because we have dehydrated potatoes too for the hash browns. And they were looking at him, I wouldn't say hostile, but you've got 3 big guys and Jim there, and he thought it best to just leave because he was concerned. And this is an odd situation anyway. I mean,
Well, once you figure out the locks don't work, and 3 locks.
Yeah.
It's not 1, but 3.
Yeah, and you're locked out of the building that you have legitimate access to. You're one of the key holders, okay?
Yeah.
And we have very few key holders.
Yeah.
So he left and made the appropriate phone calls. He didn't try to confront the issue. So by 5 o'clock, we had figured out before 5 that afternoon, we had figured out what we were going to do. We notified the sheriff.
Okay.
And told them that we're going back out there to wrestle control of the building from some people who had adversely taken it over. And when we got back there, there was Marilla Peeler and Donald Peeler were both there, and Donald was waving this revocation letter at us, saying that we no longer had authority to be in this building. They had taken it over, and for the California State Grange.
How legitimate was that letter?
Well,
I mean, when it's a signed document, it reminds me of Charlie Brown. When Lucy says, kick the football, I promise I won't pull it away. I have a signed document. He goes, well, okay, well, it's a signed document.
Well, you have to look at our history. We never lost our relationship with the old California State Grange.
Yeah.
We've paid our dues to them all along. We've never missed a beat. And here comes the California State Grange that was incorporated in 2014, giving us a revocation letter from an organization that we've never belonged to.
Wow. So how does that affect if you're, for instance, a 6th level Granger?
Yeah.
What happens if you're a guild? I mean, do all of these steps, the 1 through 4, and then it jumps to 5 and 6 and 7, do all those kind of evaporate, I guess?
Well, they, when they took it over, they said that we were no longer Grangers. But
there's some definition issues.
Yeah.
Is that part of the lawsuit? That's why it's a guild, because legally you can't say Grange.
They won. The Grange won their trademark lawsuit, and they won. There was only one thing they won, and that was use of the capital Grange, capital Grange.
Yeah,
that's the only thing they won.
There's a parts catalog they ought to sue.
I know, that's Grangers, Grainge.
Okay.
Yeah, but in any case, that's and they've got some nuances in that the head of the California State Grange tries to use.
So is a master still considered a master?
Master, president, yeah. Same thing, yeah.
All right. So those just kind of cross over.
Those kind of cross over, yeah.
So, all right. So break in, breakfast delivered.
Yes.
the groceries.
Uh-huh.
At that point, a reconvening where Donald brings out this revocation letter.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Sheriffs are there.
Well, sheriffs, they
Or
they
show-
actually called the sheriffs out.
Okay.
Yeah, because they called 911, so the sheriff
Oh.
thinks it's an emergency, right?
Okay.
Okay, and because we asked Donald for the key, so
Yeah.
that the members, because there was 12 or 13 of us there, that had gone back out, 2 attorneys involved,
Uh-huh.
and we went back out and we said, Donald, we need access to the building because our membership's not going to be locked out. We don't care about the revocation. It's not an organization we belong to. So he says no. And we asked him again, no. So we went around to the southwest door and opened it.
Southwest door is the door by the ladies' room.
The ladies' room, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the door a lot of people use to go in and out the back end at events.
Yeah. So they can go out and do whatever they're going to do out in the parking lot.
How long has Donald been a Grange person?
A while. He's kind of hangs out in the kitchen at breakfast. He washes dishes and goes in and out because he chews.
Yeah.
So he'll have to go outside every 10 minutes. And
Because I know, like, Marilla, you've mentioned, is
Yeah.
like a 6th level Granger.
yeah,
She mentioned something.
but she's never been an officer, really. I mean, she was, I think, a series, which is kind of a token position, but
Okay.
and she's never really been very much involved in any of the business meetings, except for the last 3 months or so.
Okay. Let's get on to Ed. Because through this whole break-in, Ed has something to do with it. Ed Komsky, right?
Yeah, he's the president master of the new California State Grange
That you've never been affiliated with.
that we've never been affiliated
Okay.
with.
So how does the Fort Bragg or Inglenook Grange, and I believe at the same time like the Redwood Valley Grange
Anderson Valley.
and Anderson
all of
Valley,
them,
so
yeah.
was Ed involved in taking each one strategically or
Yeah, Mendocino's kind of a cherry for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And does Ed have a background? I mean, I know that I have a client that had a conversation with Ed. She's on the fence because he had some things that were very interesting to say about the group, but not really sure how to fact check it.
Yeah.
It's hard to fact check things when you don't have the background, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I did an article about a year and a half ago it's called Who is Ed Komsky?
Yes, it's on the coalition page.
cgcoalition.org. It's one of the first articles I did. And I tried to keep it objective. It's a little nuanced because basically we've been looking at this for quite a while.
I think I remember real estate or brokerage or
He's a mortgage banker,
mortgage banker. Okay.
real estate developer,
Okay.
and also his current job is with what is it called? Doc Magic.
Huh.
And what
Okay.
Doc Magic is it's a RoboDoc company. That
Okay.
And those were one of the ones back in 2008 when they were having all of the transaction problems with the
Sure.
mortgage stuff.
With the automatic signed
Automatic
stuff,
signing,
or-
yeah, that's what he does. He's got,
Wow.
he manipulates documents.
Okay.
So, and we've found that to be true with what came up with our SI 100s and what he's done with others. So, and I'm not saying that he's good or bad,
Okay.
Yeah, but
he is part of an organization that this hall wasn't even a part of.
yes,
So whether he's good or bad is a moot subject in a way,
yes,
kind of.
yeah,
Now, you mentioned the SI 100. Now, I attended a meeting, I guess, last month, and that was one question I had is, what is an SI 100, and how does that play in? And I believe part of the SI 100 plays into what happened with the banks
yes,
issues?
yes, it does.
Okay.
So the SI 100 that lists the current officers in a corporation.
Okay.
Okay. And it also has the contact, who you're supposed to contact as the main officer. So what Mr. Komsky did, and he's done this a number of times, and this is where I have the most problem because the Secretary of State's website has an entire page dedicated to corporate identity theft.
Okay.
And if it's against California law, corporate law, to just go in and assume control of a corporation without the knowledge of anybody involved in the corporation. So what Mr. Komsky did was and the funny part of this is that anybody can do this on the Secretary of State website. You just fill out the document. Okay?
Okay.
And
so Joe Wagner, I could just go to this and I could fill out this document.
Well, you're a 501c3, right?
Yes.
Okay, I could, if I wanted to, go up, if I knew your document or knew what your corporate name was on there, I could go up there.
Noyo Radio Project.
Okay, I could go to Noyo Radio Project, put myself as the president, someone else as the secretary, and someone else as the treasurer, and file that document, and within a few days it'll show up. Okay.
Wow.
As the official document.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so with corporate identity theft, some folks will do that, and then they can take that paperwork and show it to a car dealer somewhere and say that they're the head of this corporation and get credit, especially if they've got good credit. Or they can do a multitude of other things. That's why...
Or they can show up with a revocation letter.
A revocation letter. How about that? Yes. So they got this revocation letter, and he took over our corporation for a moment by doing this document, the SI-100.
Okay.
And took that information to our bank. Okay. And scared the bank. Okay. Because they're not used to this kind of stuff. So the bank freezes the account immediately.
As maybe a security measure?
As a security measure, and that's what they should have done, okay? You know, under the circumstances, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Because there's this official-looking paperwork.
Yeah.
So with that, it's, you know, everybody freaks out, and, you know, the problem with what went on with the bank, though, is that Mr. Komsky is a bit of a smooth talker.
Sure.
And he convinced the bank to give out private information as well as freezing the account.
Okay.
So, which is a no-no for the bank.
Like HIPAA laws kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's
almost like medical disclosure, but on bank level.
On bank level. And I think there's some banking laws that are quite firm on what that type of behavior is if a bank does it.
Well, there needs to be, because even if my wife pays our PG&E bill, that's been in my name here for 15 years, I just, you know, they won't tell her exactly how much the bill is. She can make a payment, but she says, without my Social Security number.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, those dummies. So I said, just pay $100, just overpay whatever. You know, give them $100. I'll see the balance next month. So
yeah. So anyway, what Komsky does with this information is, and a lot of our members, all of our members who happen to get emails from him, because there was an email list stolen a couple years ago that allowed him to get all of that information, but so that he can keep sending them irritating, not necessarily true emails.
Sure.
So he sends this document that shows me and another guy taking the building back, and then calling myself and another member thieves for stealing $23,000 out of the account, because the bank told him that myself and another member were signers on the account, and then the bank also told them that there was a withdrawal of X amount of dollars the previous day, and they also gave him more bank information. The bank did this and allowed him to, I would say, slander us publicly, because he also did it via mail, and then he had it on his own website for a while.
So the $23,000 question is, where's the $23,000?
Oh, it's sitting in another bank.
Okay.
But also, what you have to understand is the bank issue is done, because we got that bank account back. It's unfrozen, and we closed it. We legitimately closed that bank account. Everything is done. We were not... We would have been able to do it in about 3 days.
Sure.
If there was an issue with an attorney that didn't contact them in
Okay.
time where we thought that they did.
Okay.
So that's the only reason that it drug on for a few weeks. We would have had our account back within 3 days.
Okay. That's fascinating stuff. What are the current actions? Are there current actions still happening, or are we just? And I say we loosely because my Grange application's sitting on the counter still.
Mm-hmm.
I have two
Guild.
of them. Guild.
You can join.
Oh,
the
I'm gonna have
Grange.
to give you guys another $1. I keep doing that. So my plan is to join.
Uh-huh.
But not just to hastily jump in and go, I'm joining right now. I'm getting into this battle. But casually, I'd like to know about like when the next vote happens. And obviously there's no stacking of the vote,
Yeah.
right? So I want to join, but also at the same time be sensitive to all people in the community and not make it look like I'm joining because X. I'd like to join. For some reason, I've just never joined the Grange. Like I said, I've only been to a few breakfasts, in
Another
events up
$1.
there.
Another $1.
Yeah. Well, that was then, though.
Yeah, that was then.
Yeah, referring to then. So I guess what sparked my interest really was when Lee wanted to extend some summer parties that people in the know at our friend Jeff, I'm just going to say Jeff Bain's house. People in the know that know where to go know that 4 times in the summer we have a big potluck. It's a bring your own beer party up north where there's live music, very loose stage management. Sometimes I end up being house bass player for everybody for the whole afternoon. And it happens. And our intent was to keep musical activities like that going. And Lee came up with that idea. Let's extend these parties to the Grange. So in January, I believe it was January 20th, I think was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had 4 now, right?
Yes.
And those all happened trouble-free, including the one after all of these events. The only event that was missing was one Grange breakfast.
Yes.
Was, I guess, during the lockout or...
Well, it wasn't during it. It was right after it, and we
Okay.
hadn't gotten our feet back under us.
Sure.
It was... there was all of these threats happening, and there was
Sure.
a bunch of conflict. So we felt it best for the public to not inflict
Like a
that
cooling off period.
A cooling
or
off
something.
period, yeah. Because we were running our 24-hour vigil.
Yeah.
We just didn't know what was going on. It was kind of like, after an assault, a person needs to get they need to get grounded again
Yeah.
and see where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, with those musical events, I thought, geez, now I really want to become a part of this group because there's something that has a common interest with me. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm not going up there to sew or, for a bake sale, I might go, buy some cookies. But there's a lot of events that, I'm me. I have my own hobbies. And then when the musical events come up, I thought, oh, now they've hit a nerve with me. And there's a hobby that I can extend to
Yeah,
helping
and it's
out this group.
close.
And it's close. I don't have to go run the gauntlet through town to go somewhere and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's
We'd
kinda-
like to have a lot more music events there. We really
Yes.
would.
Including there's the Gwyneth Moreland concert coming
Yes.
up on the 20th.
Yes.
And that's going to also have a food ticket with that, right?
Yes,
of
it
some
is.
sort.
Yes. I'm not sure. I don't have that event in front of me, so.
Back to the vote thing, though.
Yes.
There's a vote coming up, and the who can vote, I believe, has to do with current dues by a date. Not currently, like if you just run in and say,
That date has passed.
what
so-
was that date?
That was April 30th.
April 30th.
Yeah.
So you needed to have your dues paid by April 30th in
Yes.
order to vote on the date.
And there again, this gets back to the forced entry again.
Okay.
We were scheduled to have that vote on the 12th of April.
12th, yeah. That's still burned into my mind, 12th of April, but
Yeah.
that's passed.
And it was under California state law, or corporate law, and how we had to handle the vote was that, okay, we are where we are. We're a corporation that exists under the California Guild umbrella.
Okay.
That's where we are. In order to move somewhere else, and that's anywhere else, it could be the California State Grange, it could be the VFW, it could be anybody. In order to make a change, okay, we have to have, at a regularly scheduled meeting, a 2/3 majority vote
Okay.
of the attending membership in order to move.
Attending membership in good standing with their dues.
Yes,
I
in
guess.
order to move.
Okay.
In order to move away from where we are.
Where are we now? Where is the guild right now? What's the current? Is it just steady as she goes? We're a guild. Let's move forward. Or
We want the vote because we want the membership and the public to be able to say that we did this legitimately. Okay,
democracy.
a democracy.
Okay.
You know, it happened. You know,
Yeah.
that and we don't know the total why they did it. I have my feelings that they felt that they wouldn't get the vote or something else, but they chose, rather than to do this democratically, they chose the forced takeover.
Literally. Okay.
And so that kind of just set us all back, you know, and so it's like, okay, so you spend X amount of time getting your feet under you. You've got all of the occurring bills. You've got all of the business of dealing with, and this is all volunteer work still.
Sure.
So we got all of this going on. And then we look at, okay, we were right at the end of our membership cycle. So we're getting all the new members going on, and they're the ones paying their dues and all this other stuff. So it's like, it's still going to take us a few months, okay, of scheduling this into the vote again. So
right now there's no date for vote.
there isn't.
Okay.
But
okay.
I would say that it's going to happen before the end of summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have summer to put some events at the Guild Hall.
Yes.
Actually, it was recently renamed the Inglenook Hall.
It was decided at the last membership board meeting. There was a vote on it, and one of our members who didn't attend said there was a glitch about the vote. But I would say it's about 99.9% sure that it's going to be called the Inglenook Hall.
Okay.
And that will be up on the bell tower.
Okay. The Fort Bragg Guild at Inglenook
Well,
Hall,
Fort Bragg Guild
basically.
sign is already up. That's
Okay.
down under the eaves. And the Inglenook Hall will be up on the bell tower.
If somebody wants to rent this hall for a quinceañera or a wedding or something like that, is there a schedule? So let's say I want to plan an event. Is there a schedule of events online that you can see for Guild Hall events? That way I don't say I want to schedule an event and then by the time I call it in, no, that's already...
Well, yeah, I'm guessing
Probably not.
I'm what's designated as the webmaster.
So
And,
you're the schedule.
but that would be coordinated with some other people, some officers,
Okay.
Who would do that.
And obviously if there's a Sunday breakfast... If there was a great big event that lasted till midnight and trashed the place, there'd have to be some cleanup contingency in order to be able
Yeah,
to...
we rent the hall and we do the deposits and
Sure.
yeah, because we have insurance concerns and all
Yeah.
of that, just like anybody. But
Sure.
we're pretty reasonable.
And what is the rate to rent the hall for a day?
I won't quote that.
Somebody
yeah.
told me $450. Does
I'm
that
not
sound
sure.
rough?
I'm not sure.
But if you're a member, then the rate is significantly less.
It is. Yeah, I had
Okay.
my 60th birthday party there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I'll be 65 tomorrow. But
Can you fit that many You need a big cake.
yeah, but and it was a great party. I didn't pay anything.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the way that it is for the membership who participates.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's on the slate for now that the building has locks and the keys are in the possession of the guild entity? What's slated for this hall that was originally a schoolhouse, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the future of the Inglenook Hall? Is there a roof coming or?
Well, we've got about. You mean a literal roof?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or has that been? Somebody told me the roof is part of something that they want to.
Well,
towards.
I've been involved at the building committee there for a number of years.
Okay.
And I was up on the roof walking around the other day just to give
Lightly.
Yeah, well, it's a stout. The building's
Yeah.
still got good bones. I
Yeah.
mean, there's some things with the siding and the eaves and stuff, and,
Sure.
and that's just from being on the coast.
Oh yeah.
But I'd say the roof has a good 5 years left in it.
Okay.
There's some other things I'd like to look at first, such as south side siding, north side siding.
Okay.
All these other things. And we've got some kitchen things coming up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which that's something I would love if you guys do a walkthrough on that to talk about, because I've helped a few people with kitchen stuff. I know there's like return air venting that has to be in combination with the air venting, stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
we just spent, I think, 6 months ago on the hood fire extinguisher.
the Ansel system.
Yeah. I think it was like $5 or $6 grand.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's quite the thing.
I've hooked one up, but I
Yeah.
don't know what they paid. I mean, it's a silly box with a couple relays and
Yeah, and we had
Anyway.
to do it through a certified guy that was, I think, out of Santa Rosa or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I
So-
wasn't certified. I just know a restaurant owner locally is like, Joe,
Yeah.
can you hook this up? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the inspector came and did it.
the insurance required it. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't, on the takeover, I don't know what these folks would have done. They, it's odd.
Uh-huh.
It's like, okay, the folks that were conscripted to do this weren't very involved at all, and there was only a couple of them. And
Yes.
the folks who have been there, the inside membership,
Yeah.
were all just kind of unified together. And there's so many aspects of this that are needed to run this nonprofit organization.
Yes.
that,
There's a lot of layers compared to
Oh.
KNYO. I have one station manager that gets
Yeah.
way too many calls from me going,
Uh-huh.
hey, blah, blah, blah. Hey, let's fundraise. Hey, did you build this account?
Yeah.
I'm sure he's just, oh, it's Joe again, every time.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. Okay, so there's the secretary. That's Debbie.
Sure.
She probably puts in a good 40 hours a week.
What's
Okay.
Elmer Whaley's position?
Elmer Whaley is the president.
How's he doing?
He's doing good.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, he's doing much better actually.
Okay.
He had a little burp there.
Okay.
Yeah, but
President.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, and he's been heavily involved with the building committee there for a number of years.
Uh-huh.
The downstairs bathroom stalls are his handiwork.
Interesting. Okay.
And actually, he renovated the back shed. A lot of work. He's a longtime resident here.
Yeah.
Him and his wife.
He wouldn't
Betty Lou.
remember me, but I used to do groundskeeping for Red Burke, and he would come out and tinker with Red over,
Yeah.
Model T junk and stuff
Yeah,
like
Mr.
that.
Hudson.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was good buddies with him for a while.
Yeah, great guy.
So Elmer's good. So we have a president and a secretary
And Ted Madela, the treasurer.
who covered the bills during this debacle.
He did out of
right?
his own pocket.
Because
yeah.
I attended that last meeting. I thought that's nice.
Yeah,
know.
because and he's been a member of that guild, that old Grange Guild, for 58 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and he just couldn't stomach what was going on and with it, and he was one of the ones because I actually about 8 months ago I was done with this.
Uh-huh.
And it was just too controversial, and I kept my membership, but I needed to take care of my own business, and
Yeah.
because it was just absorbing too much. So, but it was Debbie and Ted and a few other members that just convinced me, I really need, because I'd done all the research, and
Yeah.
I needed to come back, and I've turned into a lightning rod for it, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
Well, when you're a nail, everybody's a hammer or
Yeah.
something, or is it the other way around?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? KNYO time is 5:58, so an hour just blew by.
It did.
And I learned some things about the separation of the old state Grange versus new state Grange. What else did we learn today? Well, a lot of stuff. If you aren't up to current events, or if you missed, I enjoyed the KZYX interview. I did tune into that when Bob Busenski had you on, and thought that's great. And before I knew you were going on, I don't know if it was before that I had asked you, but I thought I need to get a Grange debate. I was hoping to get two people at a table, back and forth and stuff, but I think this was more informative this way.
Well, and I'd be willing to talk to anybody in the opposition, as long as it's not a yelling match.
Sure.
Yeah.
But at this point, the dust is kind of settled, and it's a guilt. Well, how settled is it?
We never know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming in, Bruce. Bruce Broderick of the what's your position right now? Are you a board member?
Well, I'm up for nomination as the Sentinel. That's a guild position, and that's kind of like the Watcher.
Okay.
You know, it used to be a gatekeeper when it was Grange, but the
for
Sentinel,
copyright reasons, gatekeeper is Sentinel.
yeah, and I like Sentinel much more because it's really appropriate for what I've been doing.
Gatekeeper sounds more gothic.
It does, but Sentinel is, I think, a little more intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Bruce Broderick, thanks for coming on to KNYO and for this edition of what I tentatively call the Fort Bragg USA Hour. You are tuned to 107.7 KNYO LP, streaming on the web at knyo.org. This was another edition of Fort Bragg USA. By the way, is it just me or is this Cinco de Mayo? It's the...
No.
Today's the
Third.
4th?
Third.
Today's the 3rd. Oh, I'm so screwed up. I know I have some Cinco de Mayo stuff somewhere in my radio show, including a track, I believe, by War called Cinco de Mayo. This evening's show. Let's see. The next underwriter for the show, Rhodes Auto Parts at 203 North Main Street in downtown Fort Bragg, home of ASE certified parts technicians and Napa Gold products. And I'm Joe Kidd. I'm going to be with you guys until 9 o'clock.